Hello, my name is Hans George Campbell. Today I'm going to repair this Amiga 500 revision 6 motherboard for Michael. Michael sent four of these in to me to have repaired, and this was the first one that he wanted me to get done. So I'm going to work on this one first. And the other three Amiga 500 motherboards, they're revision 5, and I'll do those next. So Michael, if you're watching, well, I'm going to get your motherboards repaired, and I'll ship them back to you. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started on Michael's revision 6 Amiga 500 motherboard. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the top off. Okay. Don't need my goggles on right now. I'll take those off. Okay, the next thing I think I want to do is let's go ahead and remove the disk drive. Okay. Alright. I already know what's wrong with this computer. I was checking it out earlier, and I already know what's wrong with this Amiga 500. And I'll show you what's wrong with it in a moment. Okay, let me get my screwdriver. I'm going to be using one of these screwdrivers, a low torque screwdriver. Okay. I think I'm going to need to let me zoom out just a little bit. Okay, and then basically what I'm going to do is okay. Okay. Alright, so there's the screws, or the bolts, for the disk drive. Okay, so we'll go ahead and remove the drive. It just comes straight up like that. And I'll put it over there along with its screws. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. Another thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and remove this Kickstart ROM. So, okay, so let's see. Something like this should, okay, let me unplug this. Okay, so that worked out good. And I'll go ahead and remove the Kickstart ROM. I'm also checking the pins, making sure they're not broken. Okay, it's a pretty interesting thing the way it's made. You know, I just thought I'd show it. Okay, and then that's what it looks like, you know, underneath. Like it's these two pins here aren't hooked up. So yeah, just thought I'd show that on the camera. And then it was plugged in right, this was plugged in right there. So I'll make sure I plug it in the way it was before. Okay, so I'll put this over here. Alright. The next thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to remove the motherboard from the case. So we're going to do that right now. These usually break off when you do this, but that can't be helped. That's just the way it is. In fact, I'm going to need to sit down to do this. Okay. Yeah, I need to sit down to do this. There. Okay. It didn't break. And usually you gotta pop that up like that, because if you don't, you can break this off if you force it. The bottom part right here, you know, they can catch and break that off, which you don't want to do. Alright, so there is just the motherboard itself, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Zoom in just a little bit, right like that. Now, like I said before, I already know what's wrong with this board, and I'm going to show you in just a moment. First, I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do to this board. Okay. Okay. Well, one of the things that I need to do is I need to replace this Gary chip. I'll put another Gary chip in here. Well, the first thing I need to do is I need to remove the motherboard from this shield, and I'll do that in a moment. I need to replace the Kickstart ROM with a known good Kickstart ROM. It's going to be a 3.1, and that's just for testing purposes to make, get this board up and running. But what the problem is that somebody they cut this JP2 pad right here. They cut it with a blade, some kind of a sharp blade, and it got carried away, and they messed up this part of the board. And I'll zoom in a moment to show that a little bit better. This needs to be repaired. I mean, they cut the jumper pad, right? They cut, but it didn't solder the other, which is, one of these pads one of these has to be jumpered in order for the Amiga 500 to work. If neither one of these is jumpered, then the Amiga 500 computer is not going to boot up. It's not going to work, because Agnes here is confused as to what to do. Okay. Now this one here is a 1 megabyte Agnes chip, which is a good thing. Okay, so I don't have to install that. This jumper right here, it's JP7A, I believe. That jumper, there's a connection between two pads that will need to be drilled out. And what that jumper is for, it tells the Agnes chip where to get the second bank of 512K of memory, in this case chip memory. So by default it looks for the memory from the trapdoor expansion. But when you cut that, okay, then that tells the Agnes chip to look for the second bank of 512K of chip memory from on the motherboard itself. So this will have to be drilled. And yes, you don't use a sharp knife or anything like that when you want to cut a trace. The way we do it in the electronics industry, we use what is called a pin vise. This is what we use right here. It's a pin vise. And I have a 1/16 of an inch drill bit installed. That's a good general purpose size for drilling just about any trace on a board. Sometimes you can go to the next size up drill bit, you know, but a 1/16 of an inch seems to be a good general size for drilling through most traces. But that's what that's how we do it in the electronics industry, and I'll show you how we do that in a moment, because I'm going to have to drill through this jumper here. So yeah, I'll show you how this works in a moment. All right, so let's get going here. Well, the first thing I need to do, I got a special tool here. It's designed for removing the nuts that are on those connectors. And I bought this thing way back in the early 80s, and you're not going to believe how much this tool cost. This is a specialized tool. Well, it was back then. Now they're readily available for, you know, for under 10 bucks. But back then, this was a specialized tool. And I paid, like, if I remember correctly, around $130 for this driver. Yeah, you heard me right. $130 for this driver. But when you need to remove those bolts or those screws from those connectors, this is the only thing that would fit in there to remove those. You know, this is the only thing that the walls were thin enough to where it would get in there and you can remove those screws on those connectors. So yeah, this was a must-have tool back then in the early 80s. A specialized tool. But yeah, I paid a lot of money for this, and I've had this for all these years. I've had this tool. Anyway, I'm fixing to use it right now. Just turn this baby around, and let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit like that. About that much is good. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And then, okay, when you're removing these, you want to try to put them back the same way that they came out. They are, I mean, one size does not fit all. Okay? Okay, sometimes I have to use, let me see, sometimes I have to use this. Oops. Sometimes it doesn't want to fit. So, yeah. Okay. So, that over there. Still underneath the camera. Yeah, so make sure underneath the camera. Okay. Oh, for some reason it doesn't want to go in there. Like, what the hell's up with this? Yeah, like in this case, see, this has some kind of, like a lock nut or lock washer or tooth washer around it, which is not on the other ones. So yeah, you want to try to put these back the same way that they came out of these connectors. So I usually line them up in the back there, and I make sure that that happens. You know, yeah. Okay. Alrighty. And for some reason, these are really tiny. This tool doesn't want to fit in there. I usually never have that problem with this tool. So, Okay, see, yeah, see, this one also has, it also has a tooth washer around it. So, yeah. That's around the joystick and the mouse connector. Okay, so... Alrighty. Okay, I'm going to put these over here. I don't want these getting mixed up. You may think, well, one side fits all, but that's not true because you have what is called thread pitch. And also, these are not, they're not the same length. The actual hexagon part of these are not the same length. Some of them are slightly like a different size, and so, yeah, one size does not fit all. Okay. Okay, so, alright. Yeah, for some reason these are really tight against the D part of the connector. I don't know why that is. It's like they're out of spec. These connectors are out of spec. They were manufactured out of spec or something. Yeah. Okay. But we'll get it done. We'll get this done. No problem with that. It'll all be done. Oh, come on. Okay. One more and I can get this shield off. Okay. So now we can get the shield off. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. Now there is a protective, like a mylar sheet, that's between the motherboard and this metal shielding. You want to make sure that that's on there when you reinstall the motherboard. Alright, so the motherboard right there. There's the motherboard. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom in on the problem spot. I'll try to zoom in with this camera. It has pretty good macro capabilities, so I should be able to do it. But yeah, we'll zoom in the problem spot, and that's going to be right, I'll put it like in the center of the camera. And let's see if I can zoom in a little bit better. Actually, that's pretty good. That's pretty good zoom, man. I didn't even need to buy that USB microscope because, you know, this is actually pretty good. But as you can see, someone, whoever cut that, that jumper right there, they did a lousy job. And I think they cut one of the traces going this way. You can see it's scratched. I'll have to check that with a multimeter. I looked at it with my 7-power magnifying goggles, and it didn't look like it was cut all the way through. But, yeah, I'm going to have to fix that. I'm going to have to properly drill through that and then solder the other two. You know, the other two pads have to be jumper. The middle pad has to be jumper with the top pad. Okay. For the 1 megabyte chip ramp upgrade on the board. And the tip that you need for that, a normal size tip is not going to work. I know a lot of people do that. I've seen them on the YouTube channel. They solder these jumper pads with a standard size 1/8 inch wide tip, and that's not going to do a good job. You really need a tip about, you know, that size there, what I was showing underneath the camera. That kind of a tip there, about that size. It's like a 1/4 inch, or let's say a 3/16 inch or a 1/4 inch. I think it's 3/16 inch wide soldering iron tip. But that will touch both of those pads and heat up both of the pads at the same time and produce a perfect solder jumper. So that's what I'm going to use, okay, for that. Okay, so, okay. Alrighty, so, okay, let me make sure I have all my tools. Okay, I'm going to need my cutters. I'm going to need my alcohol. I'm going to need my brush and my Kim wipe. I'm going to need my soldering iron tip cleaner. I'm definitely going to need my solder pump. Solder sucker, I mean. I'm going to need that for sure. And yeah, I'm going to need that, all of that good stuff. Yeah, going to need all that. Okay. Alright, so we're going to need the solder sucker. We're going to need to pull the, actually what I could do, okay, is have the solder sucker up here for the time being until I need it. I need my solder right there. I need to pull the iron, like right about there. Pull the iron forward, like that. And then I need to replace my tip with the larger tip. Yeah, replace it with the larger tip. And there we go. I'll put that over here. Okay, and we're going to put on this larger tip, like that. Okay, can you all see that? Okay. Because we want that jumper pad, that jumper soldered on pretty good. You know, so you need a tip that cover, that touches both of the, you know, both of those pads. So this should do it. You want to finger tighten this only. Never use a wrench on this, ever. Finger tighten only. Okay, so now we got that tip on there. That's the proper size tip for doing that job. Okay, my sponge has already been wetted. Okay, now let me get my goggles. Okay, let me get the iron turned on. I have it set for around 625 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around about 325, 330 Celsius is what that would be, I think. Well, we'll see, because I'll read it right off the, yeah. Okay, 335 degrees Celsius, and that's around 625 degrees Fahrenheit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and use my pin vise, and I'm going to properly drill out in between those two pads. All right. Okay, first thing I'm going to need to do is I need to suck up that solder. I can't drill when there's solder blobs there, so I'm going to need to suck that up. So, we'll go ahead and do that. Okay. Okay, I need to get this where I can really get in there. Okay, can you guys see it, what I'm doing? Really need to get... Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's see. I'll get this corrected. It'll be all fixed and Michael will be happy with it. He'll be happy with it. Okay, it looks like... Wow, that looks like an actual through hole there. That's pretty cool. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and clean that with a... You know what's coming. You know what's coming. A cotton makeup pad. Alright. I'm going to clean that baby. Because I need to see also that trace and make sure it hasn't been damaged. Okay. Now that's weird. Let me see some. Well, I'm just curious to see if that's a through hole or not, or it's just a single one. Okay, so it's just a single pad. Or a through hole. And that's coming directly from the Agnes chip. Okay, I see what's happening to it. Alrighty, so what I'm going to have to do... God, whoever cut that is a crappy job. I mean, oh my God. It looks like it's cut, though. I mean... It looks like it's cut. I would have done a better job, you know, just drilling it, but yeah. It looks like there's one line that's cut that goes from this through hole here all the way up to about here somewhere. I have to measure it with my multimeter. It might not have been cut all the way through, but still I might have to add a jumper wire there to fix that. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and solder that jumper. Okay. So let me pull out some of my solder, and let's clean this tip. Okay, and let's make sure you guys can see it. Okay, God, I hate how stiff these new iron wires are. There's one nice thing about my old iron. It had a real nice cable on it. Okay, that looks good. I have my sponge wet too. Sometimes I use the sponge. All right, so yeah, that turned out really good. I'm gonna go ahead and clean it with a cotton swab. I thought you probably thought I was going to say cotton makeup pad, huh? Okay. All right. So, I'll zoom in and show you what I did on that. Let's see if I can get it zoomed in enough. I think it's right about, what? Okay. Right about there, I think. Yeah. I think it's like right about there. Yeah. Yep, it's right. There, boys and girls. Nice, smooth, and shiny, and conical. I don't know if you can see that really good, but yeah, that's the way your solder jumper is supposed to look. And you can't get it that way with just a normal size chip. You need to have the broad size tip that's wide enough, you know, a tip that's wide enough to touch both of the pads at the same time and heat them up at the same time. So, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to show you that. So we'll zoom back out. And that corrected that. That was the one thing that was wrong with that. In fact, I think that might be the whole reason why this Amiga 500 wasn't working properly, is because that wasn't done right, you know. Okay, so now I'm going to get a Kickstart ROM. I need to go into my Amiga chips stash. Alrighty. Actually, does he have... No, I'll use one of mine. I'll use one of mine. I'm not worried about it. He'll probably pay me back. Anyway, okay, we got that. We got that. We got all of these. We got... Okay, where are... Okay, I see what's going on. I'm in the wrong chip bank. Yeah, I'm in the wrong chip bank. I need to get into the other one. Yeah, I'm in the wrong one. That's okay. Need to get into this one. So, let's see what we got. I know I got Kickstart ROMs in here. Okay, we got Kickstart. Okay, what's that one? That's that. I don't need that. There's memory chips. There's what we're looking for right there. Kickstart version 4.0.68 for the Amiga A500 and A2000. That is exactly what we want, boys and girls, in a silver anti-static bag. Nothing but the best for Michael. Okay, nothing but the best. Alright. And look at that. It's one of those high-quality ceramic chips. Ooh. Is that absolutely lovely or what? Okay. So now, we're going to pull that ceramic. See, it's ceramic. It's really nice. Very high quality. Yeah, that's like what I would say is mil spec. That's right. Nothing but the best. Okay. So, we're going to go ahead and put that ROM in. Okay. Alright. And I'm thinking, okay, I want to get it where you guys can see it. Make sure I put it in there right. Okay, it goes up this way. Okay, so, alright. So this baby is going to go in. This is a really good quality socket here. Oh my god, it really is. Yeah, that's a very high quality IC socket. It's like the type that I use. It's very nice. Very nice. Okay, so... Oh yeah! Would want to be ya! There you go. Let's check this out, shall we? Let's check this out. Oh my god, man, look. Is that cool or what? A high quality ceramic Kickstart 3.1 ROM. Oh yeah, I guarantee you that chip works. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to need to do, is I need to figure out if whoever cut that JP2 jumper, if they cut the line next to it. Okay, it looks like it's all the way cut. Yeah, it looks like it's all the way cut because I don't see any. Okay, so let me get my multimeter out. I need to get my multimeter out because we're going to have to check some of this stuff with an actual multimeter. That's right, boys and girls. And we're getting the meter out now. That's right. Okay, so we're going to plug in the common test probe or test lead. We'll take that off. Okay, we'll plug in the red lead, test lead. Okay. And take the protective tip off. Okay, and then we're going to set this baby. We're going to set it for the beeper. I got a beeper on this one. So, God, it's not very loud. Anyway, what I need to do first of all is make sure that this is indeed cut. And it is. It is cut. Okay, so now we got to go from there all the way to there. Okay, and the other one goes all the way up. Okay. Okay, so that's okay. They didn't cut it all the way through, so that's good. But you know, you need to check that. You need to check that because that could have been part of the problem. You know, you need to check that with a multimeter. And so we just did that. Let me put this away. Yeah, we just checked that. So that's good. I think I've repaired this motherboard. I think I've repaired it. So that part's done. So the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to go ahead, we're going to plug in the Gary chip, another Gary chip. Okay, which I have Gary chips. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the 1 megabyte chip RAM upgrade. And I'm going to go ahead and recap this board. And then I'll test it, make sure it works good, and this will be ready for Michael. And be ready for me to ship it back to him. Alright, so, okay. Okay, these are the parts that I'm using to do the 1 megabyte chip memory upgrade on Michael's Revision 6 Amiga 500 motherboard. I'm using four 44-256 drams, 4 high quality 20-pin IC sockets, okay, and I'm using 4 high quality capacitors. These are for filtering out spikes away from the drams, you know, for smoothing out the voltage that's applied to the drams. Okay, so these are the parts that I'm going to be using to do the 1 megabyte chip RAM upgrade. Alrighty, let's go ahead and plug in another Gary chip. And it goes in, I believe, just like this. Let me double check. Yeah. Goes in just like that. Yeah, Commodore used high-quality sockets on this Amiga 500 motherboard. I'm actually impressed with the sockets. Yeah, they used some pretty good sockets on this. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's in there. I'm going to go ahead and seat these chips. Make sure they're in there. Hear them creaking? Okay, especially the Agnes chip. And the 68,000, see how it creaked? And these chips needed to be reseated, that's for damn sure. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, let me get this out of the way. Okay, I'm going to do one of these just to show you how I do it. But I'm going to do the other three here off camera because I don't want to bore you guys. You know, I'm just going to show you how I do one of them. Now the first thing we need to do is we have to solder in a socket, and we got to solder in the capacitor there. But before we can do that, we have to suck up all the solder that's in these holes. Now sometimes, depends on who was working on these boards at the factory, sometimes they use a solder mask, okay, and they cover those holes up so that when it goes through the flow solder machine, these holes don't get filled up with solder. And it's nice when they do that, when somebody at the factory thought enough ahead to do that, you know. And then when it comes out of the flow solder machine, you know, the stuff just peels off. And those holes are left nice and clean with no solder in them. You know, and I don't know why Commodore didn't do that on all these boards, you know. So anyway, okay, so what I'm going to do now is, okay, my iron is nice and hot, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on the first. Well, the first thing I'm going to need to do is I need to get the capacitor. Actually, what I need to do first is I need to switch to my smaller tip. So I'll be back after I do that.